It's Winston Churchill who's gone on record saying, "We make a living by what we get, we make a life by what we give." And I've been very fortunate to have both a living and a life thanks to volunteerism. I make a living by working in a volunteer organization and managing a team of volunteers. And I make a life by giving back to my community, to my fraternity, and other organizations. It's been rewarding, and I'm very, very thankful for all the opportunities I've had. But it's also given me a lot of knowledge and insight about this world of volunteerism. Why do people volunteer? They do it because there's many, many reasons. Sometimes we're voluntold to go and do something, and other times we do it because it's the right thing to do in a community. We see a need, we believe in the cause, we believe in the mission, and it's something that we ultimately find ourselves getting moved into in a community that helps us through service and through different organizations. Organizations and even businesses are now starting to track the global impact of volunteers. Here in the United States, we know that a volunteer has a financial impact on an organization of $25.43 per hour. Meaning, if I'm volunteering for an organization, I'm saving that organization roughly $25 an hour if they had to hire somebody to do the same work at the same time. If you've ever presented a check to an organization, you know the money that you're giving an organization is one more penny, one more dollar, 1,000 more dollars than they had in their bank account at the start of the morning. It's a gift. It's truly a gift. A lot of companies are also providing days off, paid leaves of absence, paid service days to go into the community and work with their coworkers and help and make a difference in communities. There are a lot of companies, even colleges and universities, are tracking the number of hours that people are volunteering and the number of dollars that are being raised. And while all of this sounds great, it's not actually helping us in the volunteer sector. Trends that we're seeing across the globe are trending downward when it comes to volunteers. A lot of volunteer organizations are now becoming the best kept secrets in town, and we've seen a 58% decline in membership of volunteer organizations. This is not a good trend, and it's something we definitely want to address. So what happens when you see this decline? Ultimately, people suffer, organizations aren't being served, and communities go without. Why is this happening? It's for a couple of different reasons that we've seen. Mostly, there's a lack of relevance of the volunteer organization in the community and the volunteers who are working within that organization. They are also organizations that have been resistant to change, and for a lot of them, they're operating about 30 years in the past. So I want you to flash back with me to the year 1986. I know it's 31 years, but let's play with it. So let's flash back to 1986 and what we looked like back then. In the technology field, this was the way that we communicated. So this is what's on screen is a desk phone. For the young students in the audience, this is how we talked. And the computer that we used was the Apple Mac Plus at a whopping price tag of $2,444 at its prime. In the entertainment industry, two things happened that a lot of people will remember. Phantom of the Opera debuted on Broadway, and Top Gun was released in the movie theaters. It's now back in the movie theaters 30-some years later. Here in the United States, we grieved as a nation for the first time when we saw the Space Shuttle Challenger explode in January of 1986. This was a big lifestyle and lifetime movement for us as a nation, and definitely made us all pause and remember what happened. For my sports fans, the Chicago Bears won the Super Bowl with a score of 46-10 30 years ago, and it was one of the first times that we were introduced to a sports team who did a music video called the Super Bowl Shuffle. And probably the most important thing that happened in 1986 is that I was a freshman in college. That is a lot of hair in that picture. A lot has changed in 30 years. A lot has changed in 30 years. A little lighter here. And a lot is going to change. So if we flash forward 30 years, we're looking at the year 2050. We're looking at the year 2050. So here's what we know about 2050. A child born today will be 30 years old in 2050. Imagine that. If you hold a newborn baby in 2020, that newborn is going to be 30 years old in 2050. We do know that the world population is projected to grow by more than 30% to 9.6 billion. This means there's going to be a lot more people, a lot more communities, and a lot more need to volunteer and provide service in the world, around the world. In the technology sector, it's hard to predict what technology will look like 30 years from now. But if you think back what we were using to communicate with to what we're communicating with today, handheld computers, what's 30 years going to look like from now? Maybe the Jetsons will become a reality and we'll have those space-age machines. In the medical field, we do know that medical treatments are going to change significantly with the treatment with genes, genomic treatment, DNA research, and medical doctors are predicting to us that they will be able to do a lot more in terms of preventive health than reactive health in terms of medicine. In the education sector, this is actually going to be kind of alarming, especially since we're on a college campus. The traditional brick and mortar campus may fade away. It may fade away. Online education will become the norm, and sitting in a classroom with students who are from around the globe taking the same courses as you will probably become the way that we are teaching, but the way that we're also presenting information and idea sharing. Relationships. Social scientists will tell us that communication, and we're already starting to see this in 2020, communication and technology is going to change. Technology is driving people further and further away from face-to-face contact with others, and that's going to be important because it's going to continue to grow as we approach 2050. Those same social scientists tell us that what won't change is the need to belong in a community, the need to belong to something greater to themselves, and the need to provide back. So now what do we do with all this great information? Remember when I shared that service organizations are seeing a 58% decrease in membership? Well, we've got a problem to solve, and that means we need to start looking at service and the organizations that encompass that. We need organizations for people to join, but more importantly, we need to recruit people and people to come in to be part of those service organizations. So how do you do that? How do you attract people to join when many organizations are stagnant and operating 30 years in the past? Well, you do that by thinking forward. You need to think beyond 2020 and start thinking towards 2050 when it comes to your community and those around you. People will join organizations because they want to do something a little bit better than themselves. They value the time that they will have with each other rather than the time that they will spend writing a check and sending it off to an organization. People will also want to volunteer. Research shows people will want to volunteer because they can do things together as a family. Whether biological or chosen family, people will want to do things together. And more importantly, they will want to close the generation gap that's going to exist. With the advances in medicine, people are going to be living a lot longer, and so we need to bring people together to help in communities. If you're part of a student organization or any global service organization, we need to make sure those organizations are mission-centric. Are we staying true to the mission of the organization, but also changing with the community around us? There's a people gap right now, and it's going to continue to grow with the way that our society is growing and the way that communities are changing. We are often living in overscheduled lives, and it's hard to give the time that we need in some organizations. But if the cause is right, the mission is right, and the people are there, you may be able to recruit some people to come in and do meaningful hands-on service. Today's people who want to join service organizations are the mavericks. These are the people who want social change. They are not the people who want to sit at a traditional fork and knife club meeting or a business meeting. They want to roll up their sleeves and get into the field. And that's going to be important as we start to look at the relevance of a student organization or any other organization that revolves around volunteers and volunteer-driven people. Is your weekly meeting again going to be fork or knife, or are you actually going to be out in the community doing what you should be doing? Tomorrow's volunteers need to be socially engaged. They want to make a difference in the community, and they want to know that their impact is going to last in the community. They do not want to sit behind a desk. They would much rather be out there sharing their passions and spending time with others. There's been a lot of research that's been done about volunteers, and ultimately what we're learning is that people want to do something because they have the freedom to do something important with their lives. They're going to make smart choices and choices with their time, and ultimately it's making the time with their lives. Great things never came from comfort zones. If you're part of an organization or work with organizations, you have to remember sometimes we have to get out of our comfort zones and be prepared for the "we've always done it this way" syndrome. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. The naysayers will be there, and we have a duty to greet those naysayers with some stats and with some facts, but most importantly, passion in order to get out there. You, my friends, can ultimately help me reverse the trend. I enjoy what I do for my job, but I also enjoy what I do for my life. And I know the needs are out there, and we can make a difference. So I welcome you to join me, and let's get out there and do something important for communities tomorrow. Thank you.